Well, this is Baruch here. I'm back at the Tikkun elevator Kollel in the driver's seat. Now we're learning really the sodos of the Kriat Shemah. And the Tiv has decided to give us an introduction. Now what he wants to say is that all the Kriat Shemah does, the main thing that Kriat Shemah does is bring down the beginnings of Mochin the Godless into Zeir Anpin, and ultimately through Zeir Anpin, and the way that it handles, the Zeir Anpin handles the lights that come through the six spheros, ultimately to Malchus and then to us. Here he says that the light, all the light, starts from the same place, which is called the Roma Ma'alos, or the Avsag Da'ak. It means the best we could say about the Eitz of Baruch Hu and the generation of these lights. But he wants to say that along the way, between the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, there are partzufim along the way. There's first Adam Kadmon, then there's Olam HaNekudim, Olam HaNekudim, Olam HaBarudim, and then finally the Olam HaTikun. And the Olam HaTikun, he wants to say that there are stations, I guess we'll say stops or stations, where the light resides, and then proceeds on from there. And then there are also places in those partzufim where the light acts, the parts of acts really as just a bridge, so that the light itself is never lodged there, and instead it proceeds through as if it's a bridge to the next station. So here we are now, and he's going to start recounting. We're on page, once again, Mem Dalet. We'll read along as best we can. We'll try to understand this. He said, so what's the first Madrega? So we'll call them Madregos now. He says, Hu b'Kriyat Shemah the Yotzer. That's the Kriyat Shemah that you say. This is the regular Kriyat Shemah in Chakras. It's called the Kriyat Shemah the Yotzer. That's what the Kabbalists call it, which is it by Baruch Hu. She'az niftecha b'biras Kriyat Shemah, because then, before you say the Kriyat Shemah, Yesh l'zah kol ha-mochin dekatnas. The zah is completely filled with mochin dekatnas b'tzad ima b'shlemas that came in from the parts of Bina or Tzavuna into Zeir Anpin. The hainu sheyesh lo hein ha-mochin ha-benimim. So he wants to say that there are two different kinds of mochin. V'hein ha-mochin ha-makifim b'tzad ima. They all come into Zeir Anpin at this point from the side of ima. But what about the Mochin Dekatnas Abba? Yesh lo rak ha-benimim levad. At this point, Zeir Anpin has only the Mochin ha-benimim. It's lacking the makif from Abba. So then now, when you say the word Tevis Yisrael, and remember Yisrael is attached to the concept of katnas. Mekabel also Zara Makif the katnas b'tzad Abba. That's when Zah gets the completion from the side of Abba. Nimsish yesh lechu kavar oz kol hamocha the katnas b'shlemas. And at this point, this is the Kriat Shemah the Yotzer, Zah has all of the mochin the katnas. Behind the Abba, behind the Ima, those are from Abba, those are from Ima. Now when you get to the word Echad, what Zah does then, this is the whole idea of prayer. And Zah, he elevates the Mochin the Katnas, Shekibo b'Tevis Yisrael, they came from the Tevis of Yisrael, the Haindach of B'Makiv the Katnas, the Abba, that is along with what he had, the Mochin previous to that. And he says that the highest level is the Mochin the Katnas of Abba. So if you take it, I'm thinking he's saying that within the Mochin the Katnas of Abba are all the other Mochins of Katnas. So he said, "V'keven shema'al lemana mochin v'yotze gebokim sheyesh b'mochin the Katnas. V'chein gorim zivim me'ula ma'od ba'abba v'ima." This causes a yichud up above. Understand this yichud, the way he's saying it, is that you're bringing all the lacks that you have in kindness, all the questions that you have, all the things that you worry about, everything that's in your mind that keeps you from really being able to see the world as clearly as possible. At this point, when you bring up that part of the kindness which comes from Abba, this causes a yichud up above to bring answers. And as a result of that, that yichud that takes place, it's like a yichud shoots light downwards and shoots the request upwards at the same time, because there is no time in this sequence, because the elevation of man produces ultimately response from the Roma Ma'alos, but in this particular case it's coming from Bina or Tavuna. Or it's coming from the Mayan, I said that wrong. It's coming from the Mayan Lukvin, that's coming from the Mocha Dekatnas of Abba. So therefore, as a result of that, Zer Anpin is able to receive the light of consciousness that is coming from up above. And since you have all of the Mocha Dekatnas in, and you have only the Mochen the Godless by itself. So therefore, you only have the Mochen of Godless, of these Mochen the Godless. Let me read this again. So only Mochen the Godless come in. And if that's the case, then it's going to be that the power of all of these would too much to handle. So let me see if I think I translated that wrong, so let me say it again. Kevin Shegavar Nigmal the Hikones Bo Kol Hamochen the Katnas the Gamri. Ba'ata Niknas Bo Rak Hamochen the Godless Levad. So now the Mochens the Katnas don't come back anymore. That's what he was saying. And only the Mochen the Godless come in. L'chein Kocho Chozak. See, his power, his ability becomes much stronger, and he's able to be able to receive these mochen. Now he says the Madrega base, the second Madrega, who the Kriat Shemah, the Seder Harkabanos. So he goes backwards, and he says that this is the first one that you say, right when I daven right now in Ashkenaz, so in Ashkenaz say it also. So he says, who the Kriat Shemah, the Seder Harkabanos. Sha'az lifnei amiris ha-Kriat Shemah, because then, before the time of the saying of the Kriat Shemah, yesh l'zachar rak ha-mochen ha-benimim dekatnas debitzad ima levad. So he says that's the first station. Now, this is, I'm trying to put this together and trying to understand. The first station is bringing in the mochen dekatnas of Abba, sending them up to Abba Ve'ima, causing a yichud there, which ultimately brings Shefa all the way up to the quest, all the way up to the top of the Roma Ma'alos, and then brings back Shefa, which produces Mochin that come from the first station, which he is saying is the Hitzonius of Atik. So now he says in the second one, though, we revert back to an earlier Kriat Shemah, the one that we said about Karbanos. So he said, "Yesh l'zachar baraka mochim apenimim dekatnas." So he only has the mochim apenimim dekatnas b'tzad ima levad. He has that is the first time we say Shema, and it's the least. It has the least mochim within it. It only has the mochim dekatnas of tzad ima. V'hu masha muchwach l'chiyos lo tomid. So this is his base. This is where Zer Anpin is holding. He has the mochin of the pneumios of Ima. No, we're not defining what the characteristics of these are, except we understand that the pneumios, well, let's see what I do understand, I'm not sure. And when you say the word Tevis Yisrael, this brings them down. When you say the word Yisrael, so he's saying like this, my situation is, I'm about to say the Kriat Shema by Karbanos. I say the Kriat Shema by Karbanos, I Shema Yisrael. When I say that word Yisrael, it's going to bring two more madregos in, because right now you only have the Penimios of the Penimi, the Mochim Penimim of Ima inside of Zer Anpin. So now you say them two more, when you say Yisrael in this part, it says brings in two more pieces. The Heinrich of the Makif to Ima, that is the Makif of Ima that you did not have. The Abba, and also the Benimi of Abba. So here we see that another example of the fact that the Makifim and the Benimim, the most powerful of them is the Makif. So the minimum amount that you have is the Benimi. That's the light that's inside of Zer Anpin. But the light that shines on Zer Anpin to the outside is a light that's too great for it to actually go into Zer Anpin. And so therefore it's lacking that. But when you say Yisrael at this point, let me bring it about Benimi the Abba, But b'china echad ma'ala chazan laman. So the hainu hamakif te'ima, I'm sorry, we only had I missed that part. The hainu hamakif te'ima, we bring in the makif of ima. Now you have inside of the mochin azer anpen, the makif of katnus of ima, along with the panemius of ima, v'chapanemi the abba, and all the panemi the abba, but tebes echad, when you say the word echad, ma'ala chazal laman, azad therefore causes the mayim nukvin to go up, also mochin the katnish and niknasu b'tebes Yisrael, the hainu makif the ima, that he brings up now the makif the ima and the panemi the abba, that's what is being offered up. Now imagine this is really a metaphor also of the base of Mikdash and the offering of sacrifices. But that's another play for something else. And what happens with the mind mukfin always produces, the need produces answers. And the answer is the yichud that takes place between Abba ve'ima, and that yichud sends up vibrations up to the Most High, and it brings back shefa. The godless. And what this does, it brings in now the mochin of the six kitzvos, that's a chesed gevura tiferes, that's a chod, the godless. Became a shaloh ha'alach l'man the mochin agavochim, but since he's only bringing these lower level of mochin, shehem ha'makif the abba, v'lechem lo garam azivuk ha'meshuvuk ba'abba v'ima kamo b'kriyat shema the yotzer, like the kriyat shema the yotzer. Now let me come back. I didn't understand 100%. So let me come back and read it from the top. So he says, Dahainu hamakif de'ima. So in the second stage, what you're bringing in when you say the word echad, you're bringing in the makif de'ima, v'chapanimi de'aba. Excuse me, I said that wrong. I'm going to do it again. So he said, let's go back over here. He says, where can I go? So he says, Lifnei amiras Kriat Shemah, yesh leza rak hamochin hapeninim dekatnas demitzad ima levad. Zah, this is the minimum amount of mochin that Zah has in order to keep him alive. V'hu ma shemuchrach lihiyos lo talmid. He has to have this. V'she'onim tevis Yisrael. But now at this point, when you're at the karbanos, and you say the word Yisrael, mekabel leza shnei madregos b'yachad mechamochin dekatnas, he gets two more madregos of katnas come into him. What are they? Remember, we're dealing with katnas. The hainu hamakif the ima, because we only had the panemi of ima, and the panemi the abba. We don't have the makif of abba yet. But the tevis echad, now you come to the tevis echad. What does echad do? It's a ma'ala hazal laman. It brings Zah up in man. Osam, that is, Zah brings up in mayim nukvin. Osam mochin the katnos sheniknasu b'tevis, the mochin the katnos that just came in. The hainu makif the ima, that is the makif the ima that was missing, and the panini the abba. Why do we do that? Kedei legrum azivug shal abba ve'ima. Once again, all the mochin come from abba ve'ima into zeranpin, is that to bring in and cause a zichud to take place between abba ve'ima. And this ultimately results in a hamshech lo hamochin the sheshes kiteshes the shisha kitzvos the godless. That is to bring these mochin into the vog of godless. That's what we're trying to do. But since we're not dealing with mochin the godless, shehem makif the abba, we're not bringing that makif the abba, which is the greatest part of it. So therefore, it's not going to be the highest quality of yichud that takes place between Abba B'ima Kamal B'Kriyat Shemah the Yotzer, like in Yotzer, where we're actually going to get the Zat, would be the Zayin Tachtonos of the Mochin of Godless of Ima. V'lachem himshicho Abba V'ima Bezivugim HaMochim HaPenimios Erik Anpin. So then, therefore, these Mochin come for the Penimios of Erik Anpin. Shehu Madrega Achas Bechusa, which is a level which is slightly less than the first level. So now we're bringing in the Madrega, we're bringing in these Mochim, Shehu Madrega Achas, he said, Mezivug Mochim Bedimium to Erik Anpin. So now we're bringing this from the station of the Madrega, which is called Erik Anpin, but which part of Erik Anpin? The weaker part of Erik Anpin, which was the Benimius Kriat Shemah the Yotzer. V'kein gam lezah atzma, also for Zah himself. Kevin shebeteba echad, and that word echad, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Elokeinu Hashem echad, tzarek od lehikones bo hamakiv tekatne b'tzad abba. So therefore, when you say the word echad, we're still missing the makif of katnus of abba. Biyachad in the mocha the shisha kitzvos the godless, and we bring that along with us when we come later, and we're going to bring in the shisha the mocha the shisha kitzvos the godless, the king kocho cholosh. So therefore, it's weaker. It's not able to handle those lights that come from the kitzonius abba of atek, and so therefore it's getting from the panemios of ARI Kriat, who is lower outside of atek. Medrega Gimel, who be Kriat Shemah to Tefillas Aravis. Now we go to the next Kriat Shemah. So we went, in my count, the number 2, which is by the second time that we say Kriat Shema, that's by Yotzer. And then we went back and we talked about the first time that we say Kriat Shema, which is to build up the godless to build up the godness inside of Zeranpin. So now the negative Kriat Shema, the Tefillas Arvis, Kriat Shema, because then, before we say the Kriat Shema, he has, at this point, all of the mochim of katnus from the side of Ima, but there were no mochim at this time. Now I'm trying to understand this, and this is an introduction and introducing me and you to these ideas of godless and katnus, and which actually is affected, and where the effect is coming from in terms of Zeranpin and the mocha the godless. But V'tevis Yisrael, so then when you say Yisrael at nighttime, Kibel oz rakap and limited katna b'tzad Abba, because there was nothing from the side of Abba, only the side of Ima, the makif of the benimi. But now he's saying that at this time you have coming in the penini, the penini of the katnas, the Abba. V'tevis echad. So what happens when you say echad? Ma'al laman. Then you're bringing up man again. Ranka penini the katna b'tzad Abba levad. And so he's saying that the only part that you're bringing up is the part that wasn't there. Now that it's come in, now you offer it to God. Masha ein came to Kriat Shema the Karbanos, which is not the case over there. So he says that that first one really brings in the maki b'tzad ima. Here we have I thought he said, let me see, just look back up b'tzad abba lo hoyishu mochin. He said again, going up in Zechar Sha'az Livnei Amiras Kriat Shema over here. So here it says he had the panini and the makif. But when you look at Abba, there is no mochim from Abba. But you say the word Yisrael, you get, every time you say Yisrael, you get an addition of the mochim coming in. So Oz Raka Panini the Kata B'tzad Abba, so now you only get the panini the side of Abba, but now you have 3 parts. Over Teva Sechad, now you get to the final Teva. Ma'al Laman Raka Panini the Kata B'tzad Abba Levad. So you're bringing up just the little bit that is the panini of Abba that was just brought in. Ha'al Laman Gama Maki B'tzad Ima. But you're also bringing up, now let me go back and read the parenthesis. Masha Ein came B'Kriyat Shema de Karbanos. In the Kriyat Shema de Karbanos, which started out as only a panini from the side of Ima, now what comes in new, when you say Yisrael, comes in new, the makif. So he said, Ha'al Laman Gam HaMakif B'tzad Ima. So over there you bring up the makif. So since you're not being able to offer up all of the mochin, which you wanted, therefore it's not enough to be able to bring down the mochin, the godless, Ela B'Kitzonius Erik Anpin Levad, but it has to come from the Kitzonius of Erik Anpin. Lo Bebenim Yusa. Not from the inside. Now, I think I said something wrong. It seems like he's contradicting my thinking, and he's saying that the Benimius which does make sense. We're not talking the panemios. What is inside of the panemios is on a higher level than what's on the chitzonius. The chitzonius, I get it confused with the word makif. Makif is also on the outside, but this is talking about the or, which is a panemi and a chitzon. But there's also oros, which are panemim and makifim. So it's two different ideas. We'll see how they work out. So now at nighttime, when you're bringing in these mochin, they're bringing in the madrega, two madregas at the same time. A makif the katnas the abba. So now it's bringing the makif the katnas the abba. Ima mochin the shisha kitzvah is the godless, along with the mochin the shisha kitzvah is the godless. Madrega. So that's what happens there. Now I'm not really. It's a little confused. You're bringing in godless at different times. So at the end of the word echad, it seems like you're bringing in godless. Now, we're going to be learning, this is an introduction, and I'm really not bucky on this, so I'm learning along with you. So now the last time is what we say before we go to bed. Because what's the situation now? Before you say the Kriat Shemah, at this point, all you have, once again, is the mochin panimim that come from the side of Ima only. Shehem amochim amuchrachim lehisharabo. So it's like you're going back to the beginning position again. But the Tevis Yisrael, now you get to the Tevis Yisrael, kibo rak hamakif the katnas the b'tzad Ima levad. Then you only receive, the panimim is already there. Now you're going to also get the chitzoni, the makif that goes along with it. And you're still missing all of the mochin, the makif and the panimi of the side of Abba. Now you say echad. What you got new here, which is a makif beside Ima, you're bringing that up. So therefore, only from their outside portion. So here's what it is. When you talk about a makif and a panimi, you're talking about oros. When you talk about a panimi and a kitzoni, then you're talking about the structure, the parts of it. You're talking about the more physical part of it. So the oros go into it or surround it, and surround, what is the it? The it is an inside and an outside. So he wants to say that the inside is the more choice part, because as you get further away from the core, everything gets cooler. So therefore it's going to be less. So he said, only come from their chitzonius because there's so little offered. And it's a below yosim is there, not more than that. V'gam shekeben shetzarech od l'kabel b'yachad im hamochen the shisha kitzvah is the godless, and we said that, wait a minute, at the same time they have to get the vok of godless. Shtei madregos mechamochen the katnus shehem habenim v'ramake b'tzad abba. V'lechin all of this it still has to get, v'lechin kocho cholosh, so it doesn't have much strength. The kabel mochim shehem yosef gavochim mizeh that are more higher, so there's really not strength to be able to receive the mocha the godless at this point. Now, some of it is a little bit unclear to me, but I hope that as we go on with this understanding, at least we have the understanding of several different words, several different ideas. One idea is that when mochin are added to the base that exists at the time that you're saying the prayer, when you say this, they are added at the time of saying the mocha the katnas come at the time of the say that you say the word Yisroel. And when you say the word echad, this causes a yichud to take place in Abba ve'ima, and as a result of that, sending shockwaves all the way up to the Most High, which brings down Shefa through Abba ve'ima into Zer Anpin, ultimately to his nook. So that's one thing. So another thing is the understanding oros. The oros are a panimi and a makif. Let's understand the parts of. The parts of itself has a panemius and it has a chitzonius. So these are two very similar words, but they're not exactly the same. This is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator. Kolel, thanks for learning with me.